Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much for joining in for our Krishna book study. Let's start with prayers. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradhayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaur Dushe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namo Sute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Krishna Chaitanyameshwaram Harihi Om Tatsat. Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanaya Stadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachi Upasana Vrajavadu Vargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumarto Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatra Dharana Para Aidin Dayadrinath Hai Mathura Nath Katha Avalokya Se Hridayam Twadaloka Kataram Daitya Brahmyati Kim Karomyaham Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramarthanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hare Krishna. So, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining in for our Krishna book study. The last time, yesterday, when we were discussing the Krishna book, we saw how Narada Muni came and saw Lord Shri Krishna engage in various kind of activities simultaneously in the 16,108 palaces, right? The 16,000 queens. He had married 16,100 queens who were captured by Narakasura. And Krishna was with each one of them doing different activities. In one, he was playing a game with Rukmini Devi. In another one, he was playing with his son. In another palace, he was carrying on his administration duties. In another, he was playing with one of his sons. So like that, in different palaces, Narada Muni was astonished to see Krishna was doing various activities. And wherever Narada Muni arrived, what did Krishna do? Krishna welcomed Narada Muni, right? You are a Brahmana. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So Krishna is very, very fond of the Brahmanas and the cows. So in that way, he received Narada Muni in every place, right? Narada Muni went from one palace to another, to another, to another. And in every place, what did Lord Sri Krishna do? Lord Krishna welcomed Narada Muni as if he was seeing him for the first time. Right? So we discussed how it is very important to receive a guest at our home. Right? Sometimes it's said Atiti Devo Bhava. That means uninvited guests are representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so we should receive them and serve them very nicely. If we do that, right, especially if they are Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, who are very dear to Lord Sri Krishna, right, then Lord Sri Krishna is very pleased with us. Like that. All right, let's move ahead. Today we are on chapter number 17. There are totally about 90 chapters in this Krishna book. So it's an endeavor to complete this Krishna book before Gaura Purnima. That's the desire. So let's see how it goes. So today we are on chapter number 70, Lord Krishna's daily activities. Okay, so who would like to read? Okay, Leela Nandini Mataji, I can see your hand up. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam.
Dandat Pranam, Mataji.
Chapter 70, Lord Krishna's daily activities. From the Vedic mantras, we learn that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to do. Na tasya karyam karanam na cha vidyate. But if the Supreme Lord has nothing to do, how can we speak of the activities of the Supreme Lord? From the previous chapter, it is clear that no one can act the way Lord Krishna does. We should clearly note this fact. The activities of the Lord should be followed, but they cannot be imitated. For example, Krishna's ideal life as a householder can be followed, but if one wants to imitate Krishna by expanding into many forms, that is not possible. We should always remember, therefore, that Lord Sri Krishna, although playing the part of a human being, simultaneously maintains the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can follow Lord Krishna's dealings with his wives as an ordinary human being, but his dealings with more than 16,000 wives at one time cannot be imitated. The conclusion is that to become ideal householders, we should follow in the footsteps of Lord Sri Krishna as he displayed his daily activities, but we cannot imitate him at any stage of our life. Lord Krishna used to lie down with his 16,000 wives, but he would also rise from bed very early in the morning, 3 hours before sunrise. By nature's arrangement, the crowing of the cocks warns of the Brahma Muhurta hour. There is no need of alarm clocks. As soon as the cocks crow early in the morning, it is to be understood that it is a time to rise from bed. Hearing that sound, Krishna would get up from bed, but his rising early was not very much to the liking of his wives. The wives of Krishna were so much attached to him that they would lie in bed embracing him, and as soon as the cocks crowed, Krishna's wives would be very sorry and would immediately condemn the crowing. In the garden within the compound of each palace, there were parijata flowers. The parijata is not an artificial. Hare Krishna, Adaji. Parijata is not an artificial flower. We remember that Krishna brought the Parijata trees from heaven and planted them in all his palaces. Early in the morning, a mild breeze would carry the aroma of the Parijata flower and Krishna would smell it just after rising from bed. Due to this aroma, the honeybees would begin their humming vibration and the birds also would begin their sweet chirping sounds. Altogether, it would sound like the singing of professional chanters engaged in offering prayers to Krishna. Although Srimati Rukmini Devi, the first queen of Lord Sri Krishna, knew that Brahma Muhurta is the most auspicious time in the entire day, she would feel disgusted at the appearance of Brahma Muhurta because she was not very happy to have Krishna leave her side in bed. Despite Srimati Rukmini Devi's disgust, Lord Krishna would immediately get up from bed exactly on the appearance of Brahma Muhurta. An ideal householder should learn from the behavior of Lord Sri Krishna how to rise early in the morning. However comfortably he may be lying in bed embraced by his wife. After rising from bed, Lord Sri Krishna would wash his mouth, hands, and feet and would immediately sit down and meditate on himself. This does not mean, however, that we should also sit down and meditate on ourselves. We have to meditate upon Krishna, Radha Krishna. That is real meditation. Krishna is Krishna himself. Therefore, he was teaching us that Brahma Muhurta should be utilized for meditation on Radha Krishna. By such meditation, Krishna would feel very much satisfied, and similarly, we will also feel transcendently pleased and satisfied if we utilize the Brahma Muhurta period to meditate on Radha and Krishna, and if we think of how Sri Rukmini Devi and Krishna acted as ideal householders to teach the whole human society society to rise early in the morning and immediately engage in Krishna consciousness.
There is no difference.
There is no difference between meditating. There is no difference in meditating on the eternal forms of Radha Krishna and chanting the Mahamantra Hare Krishna. As for Krishna's meditation, he had no alternative but to meditate on himself. The object of meditation is Brahman, Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna himself is also three. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. The localized Paramatma is his plenary, partial expansion, and all pervading Brahman effulgence is the personal race of the transcendental body. Therefore, Krishna is always one, and for him there is no differentiation. That is the difference between an ordinary living being and Krishna. For an ordinary living being, there are many distinctions. An ordinary living being is different from his body and is different from other species of living entities. A human being is different from other human beings and different from the animals. Even in his body, even in his own body, there are different bodily limbs. We have our hands and legs, but our hands are different from our legs. The hand cannot act like the leg, nor can the leg act like the hand. The ears can hear, but the eyes cannot. And the eyes can see, but the ears cannot. All these differences are technically called Swachatya Vijatatya.
Jatiya. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. So, 2-3 very important tattvas are actually described here. The first being Vadanti Tattva Vidas Tattvam Yajnanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized in 3 features. Right? What are the 3 features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? We saw that it is Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized in 3 features. The first level of realization is to understand that the light that we experience, or the glow that we experience, or the sun rays that we experience, is actually an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? That's why in Bhagavad Gita there is a very nice sloka, right? In the spiritual world, there's no need for a star or a sun. Why? Because the effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead itself acts as the provider of light. In fact, the devotees, they don't even want to look at the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. Why? Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapitam mukam tattvam pushanna pavranno satya dharmaya drishtaye. Right? The devotee is actually praying, oh Lord, please remove this effulgence from my vision. Right? Why? Because this vision is actually preventing me from seeing your form as Shama Sundar. This vision, this light is preventing me from seeing you as you are, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the devotees understand that this Brahman is nothing but the effulgence from the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Right? So, Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, Natat Bhashyate Suryo, there's no need for a sun, na Shashanko, there's no need for a moon, na Pavakaha, right? There's no need for any kind of electricity or any other artificial lights in the spiritual world. Why? Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna's body effulgence itself illuminates the entire place, right? Of Goloka Vrindavan Dham, of Vaikuntha Dham, like that, right? So, the first important tattva that is actually spoken about here in this pastime is how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized in 3 features. The first level is to understand the level of Brahman. The second level is to understand that the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternally present as Shama Sundar in Goloka Vrindavan Dham, is also present in my heart as the Super Soul, right? What is that? Anumantacha Bharta Bhukta Maheshwaraha, right? Upadrashta Anumantacha, right? He's situated in my heart as a witness, as a permitter. Upadrashta means he's a witness. Anumanta means he's a permitter of everything that is happening, right? Nothing can, not even a blade of grass can move without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Upadrashta Anumantacha Bharta Bhukta Maheshwaraha. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is situated in everyone's heart as a witness and the permitter. And only by his sanction, everything happens in this world. But that is only a second level realization. What is the highest level of realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The highest level of realization is to understand that that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, whose bodily rays is the Brahman effulgence, who is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma, is eternally situated as Goloka Vrindavan Dham as Shama Sundar. Right? So he is eternally situated in the Goloka Vrindavan Dham, yet he descends and and in his multifarious forms, he is present in various jivas as the Paramatma. He is present through his Brahman effulgence in the form of light, in the form of illumination, and he's also present in the Archa Vigraha form in each and every one's home, where we are given opportunity to perceive the Lord, to see the Lord, to serve the Lord, touch the Lord, to worship the Lord, right? We are given the opportunity to do personal service to the Lord because of this feature of Archa Vigraha Seva that we're able to do, because the Lord has very kindly agreed to descend in that Ashtadhatu form, right? Which is made up of 8 metals. So like that, when the Lord descends, and Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra Maya, they are in the wooden form, right? So the Lord has agreed to descend in the form of these material forms so that we can touch the Lord, feel the Lord, dress the Lord, do abhishekam to the Lord, offer boga to the Lord. So like that, right? And when we offer boga to the Lord, the second tattva that is explained here is what is the difference between the living entity and the Supreme Lord, right? We are all seeking pleasure. The Lord is also seeking pleasure. The Lord is Atmaram, but when he wants to enjoy pleasure in a certain way, he expands himself, right? He expands, then Srimati Radharani comes out of his body, and then he expands himself to Srimati Radharani, and all of these queens, like the Rukmini, the Satyabhama, Kalindi, and all of these queens, right, whom we studied, Jambavati and all of them, right? All of these queens are expansions of Srimati Radharani, right? So, when we serve the Lord, right, we offer boga in the morning, right? In the morning, in the afternoon, we offer boga to the Lord. And we offer the boga to the Lord, we nicely ring the bell, right? Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaur Dushinabha. Then, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanitaya Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namah. We just ring the bell 3 times, and then we come back and those of us who initiate will do our Gayatri. And then after 10 minutes, or then we go, and then we ring the bell, we open the altar, and then we take the boga, we take the prasadam, or that which is honored by the Lord, and then we mix it with our we mix it with our food, and then we honor Krishna prasadam, right? But what happens, when we offer something to the Lord, if the Lord is not eating, then what is the Lord doing? Is the Lord even accepting, right? That's why there's beautiful verse of Brahma Samhita where Brahma says, Anganiyasya sakalendriya vritti manti, Pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti, Ananda chinmaya sadujwala vigrahasya, Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Angani yasya sakalendriya vritti manti. Right? We cannot eat with our eyes, right? If we just see some palatable food stuff, will we get satisfied? No. We have a particular method. We need to take it with our hands, put it in our tongue. The tongue will enjoy the taste, and then the tongue has to feed it to the stomach. Then when the food reaches the stomach, then it energizes the entire body. Right? So, but for the Lord, it is not like that. The Lord is not restricted in any terms that the Lord can only see with his eyes, the Lord can only taste with his tongue. Right? That is why it is said, Anganiyasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. With one anga, he can perform the activities of all the angas. Right? That's why when we offer boga to the Lord, he sees the boga and he's already accepted the boga. Right? And then we are able to get the fortune of honoring Krishna Prasadam. Right? So technically the differences in the human body is called Swajatiya Vijatiya. That means we can do only certain things with our eyes. We can only see with our eyes. We can only hear with our ears. We can only taste with our tongue. Right? We can only smell with our nose, like that. These are the inhibitions. We can only feel with our skin. Right? But the Lord can do any of the functions with any of his any of the parts of his body, right? Because we have a material body, whereas the Lord has a Sachidananda Vigraha body. That means there's no difference between the body and the soul, right? I am a spirit soul, but currently I am taken in this human form of body, right? I am in the human form. So this is a material body. This is subject to destruction. But for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when he appears in this world, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyatvadeham punarjanmanaiti mameti so Arjuna. If you simply understand this, then the Lord incarnates in his own transcendental body, and he performs various pastimes so as to inspire us, so as to encourage us, so as to attract us to that spiritual world where if one goes, one need not return back to this material world of Dukhalayam and Ashashvatam. So when the Lord appears, his appearance is different from how we take birth within the womb of a mother, according to our past desires. Right? For us, it is a prison house where we need to reform ourselves and go back home, back to Godhead. But for the Lord, it's like a holiday destination. He decides when I want to come, who are my parents, who will be there to, to facilitate my pastimes. The Lord comes whenever he wants. He does his pastimes. The Lord goes back. That's the difference. That is why a living entity should never imitate the activities of the Lord, but rather one should always work to satisfy the Lord by following his instructions that are given in the Bhagavad Gita, that are given in the Bhagavatam, that are also given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and all the various small books of Prabhupada. If we simply study the small books of Prabhupada, that is enough to understand how to transform our lives according to the instructions of Lord Sri Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita. All right. So let's quickly move ahead. Shubhangi Keshri Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. The bodily limitation whereby one part of the body cannot act as another part is totally absent from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no difference between his body and himself. He is completely spiritual and therefore there is no difference between his body and his soul. Similarly, he is not different from his millions of incarnation and planetary expansions. Baladev is the first expansion of Krishna, and from Baladev expands Sankarshan, Vasudev, Pradyumna, and Anirudh. From Sankarshan, there is an expansion of Narayan, and from Narayan, there is a second quadruple expansion of Sankarshan, Vasudev, Pradyumna, and Anirudh. Similarly, there are innumerable other expansions of Krishna, but all of them are one. Krishna has many incarnations, such as Lord Narsimha, Lord Boar, Lord Fish, and Lord Tortoise. But there is no difference between Krishna's original two-handed form, like that of a human being, and these incarnations of gigantic animal forms, nor in there any difference between the action of one part of his body and that of another. His hand can act as his leg, his eyes can act as his ears, or his nose can act as another part of his body. Krishna's smelling, eating, and hearing are all the same. We limited living entities have to use a particular part of the body for a particular purpose, but there is no such distinction for Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said, Angani yasya sakalendriya vittimanti. Krishna can perform the activities of one limb with any other limb. So, by analytical study of Krishna and his person, it is concluded that he is the complete whole. When he meditates, therefore, he meditates on himself. Self meditation by ordinary man, designated in Sanskrit as Soham, is simply limitation. Krishna may meditate on himself because he is the complete whole, but we cannot imitate him and meditate on ourselves. Our body is a designation superimposed upon oneself and soul. Krishna's body is not a designation. Krishna's body is also Krishna. There is no existence or anything foreign in Krishna. Whatever there is in Krishna is also Krishna. He is therefore the supreme, indestructible, complete existence or the supreme truth. Krishna's existence is not relative existence. Everything else but Krishna is the relative truth. But Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. Krishna does not depend on anything but himself for his existence. Our existence, however, is relative. For example, only when there is the light of the sun, the moon, or electricity, we are able to see. Our seeing, therefore, is relative. And the light of the sun and moon and electricity is also relative. They are called illuminating only because we see them as such. But dependence and relativity do not exist in Krishna. His activities are not dependent on anyone else's appreciation, nor does he depend on anyone else's help. He is beyond the existence of limited time and space, and because he is transcendental to time and space, he cannot be covered by the illusion of Maya. Those activities are limited. In the Vedic literature, we find that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has multipotencies. Since all such potencies are immense from him. There is no difference between him and his potencies. Certain philosophers say, however, that when Krishna comes, he accepts a material body. But even if it is accepted that when he comes to the material world, he accepts a material body, it should be concluded also that because the material energy is not different from him, this body does not act materially. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, therefore, that he appears by his own internal potency, Atma Maya.
Thank you, Mataji. Hari Bol.
Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Like I just said, so aham. That means I am that, right? When Krishna meditates, he meditates on himself, right? The Mayavadis, what do? They imitate Krishna. And they say, they also praise, so aham, I am that, right? But what does a devotee do? Devotee says, daso aham, right? Because a devotee knows what is my position in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So when somebody says, so aham, then a devotee says, daso aham, right? What is my spiritual position is that I am the servant of that Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So we can understand that the motive of a Mayavadi is to become God. That means he wants to enjoy, right? Whereas the constitutional position of a living entity is that to serve. Jivera Swarupahe Krishnere Nitya Das, right? So we can be eternally happy only when we are engaged in our constitutional position as a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? And we have experienced so much, right? Our body is a designation, right? So I am a mother, I am a woman, I am an employee, I am a grandmother, I am a father, I am an employee, I am a grandfather, I am a grandchild, I am a son, I am a daughter. All of these are bodily designations, right? I have only one designation as far as my soul is concerned, which is I am the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, right? So, sarva upadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So, we have two kinds of dharmas, right? Sarva upadi. Upadi means these designations, these bodily designations as a woman or a man or a daughter or a father or a husband or a wife or whatever may be the designations, right? All of these designations are enabling us to perform what is called as a swadharma, right? As a mother, I may have certain duties. As a father, I may have certain duties. As a husband, I may have certain duties. As a wife, I may have certain duties. Yes. So we have to perform our swadharma very nicely, right? But swadharma without sanatana dharma will ensure that we are going into the cycle of janma, mrityu, jara and vyadhi. Right. But our consciousness, a slight tilt in the consciousness will enable us to perform our swadharma in a way that liberates us, in a way that takes us back home, back to Godhead. What is that? The consciousness is that I am the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am caring for this person who has been assigned to me, who has been put under my care to be served. So I serve this person as a child of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has been entrusted in my care. If that is the consciousness in which we perform our swadharma, then our swadharma also will enable us to liberate, to take us back home, back to Godhead. Right? It's very easily said than done. Right? But at least the 2 hours of Sanatana Dharma that we do early in the morning, which is the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If you're completely absorbed in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra during those 2 hours, when we chant with awareness and we chant with attention, what happens? We, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we'll be able to do everything else in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. We are fighting a battle with Maya in the 22 hours, right? Those 22 hours, we can still be conscious of Krishna if we are dedicating those 2 hours of Brahma Muhurta, right? Earlier in this chapter, we read how Krishna also wakes up during the Brahma Muhurta time. Krishna is not in need of anything. Krishna's got everything, but Krishna himself does not want to sleep and waste his early morning time. So Krishna is setting an example for all of us, right? We don't like to wake up in the morning. We like to sleep in our beds. But is that good for us, right? Shreyas and prayas, right? So what is Shreya? What is good for us? We need to follow that. And as a matter of following it, as part of our sadhana, we will come to a particular stage where we are doing it as part of our lifestyle. It no longer becomes a difficult task to wake up in the morning, because that is the way we are supposed to live. We are supposed to wake up, chant our rounds, perform devotional service, and in this way we can live our lives. Susukam kartum avyayam. The way that is given is that it is giving a lot of happiness. But unfortunately, because of the conditionings in our mind, And the way we are used to thinking of sense gratification, we are unable to understand the potency of waking up in the morning, performing devotional service, etc. Because we've forgotten our love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because we've become dormant. That love for Krishna has become dormant in our heart. So when we revive it, then naturally, as a part of our inclination, we would automatically wake up in the morning, perform devotional service, etc. Until such time, what are we supposed to do? Until such time, we simply have to practice this modality of sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am doing this. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. Chanting minimum 16 rounds with Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In the association of devotees studying Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, offering Bhoga to the Lord and honoring diet prasadam, right? And performing devotional service. Right? All of these things we do as a matter of sadhana until it becomes a natural disposition for me to want to do these things for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then I no longer consider these as rules and regulations. These become part of my life. And that is how the Nitya Siddhas, they're eternally doing all of these things, not as a matter of following rules and regulations, but this has become a part and parcel of their life in their regular engagement, daily engagement to the Supreme Personality of Godhead's service. All right. Kripa, my Sita Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Dandatna.
Not audible. Or is it a problem here? One second.
Am I audible, Mataji?
Very, very slow, very low volume. You can increase the volume a little bit. Yeah. Go ahead.
Now am I audible, Mataji?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Krishna is called the Supreme Brahman because he is the cause of creation, the cause of maintenance, and the cause of dissolution. Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva are different expansions of these material qualities. All these material qualities can act upon the conditioned souls, but there is no such action and reaction upon Krishna because these qualities are all simultaneously one with and different from him. Krishna himself is simply Satchidananda Vigraha, the eternal form of bliss and knowledge. And because of his inconceivable greatness, he is called the Supreme Brahman. His meditation on Brahman or Paramatma or Bhavan is on himself only and not on anything else beyond himself. This meditation cannot be imitated by the ordinary living entity. After his meditation, the Lord would regularly bathe early in the morning with clear, sanctified water. Then he would change into fresh clothing, cover himself with a wrapper, and engage in his daily religious functions. Out of his many religious duties, the first was to offer oblations into the sacrificial fire and silently chant the Gayatri Mantra. Lord Krishna, as the ideal householder, executed all the religious functions of the householder without deviation. When the sunrise became visible, the Lord would offer specific prayers to the sun god. The sun god and other demigods mentioned in the Vedic scriptures are described as different limbs of the body of the Lord Krishna, and it is the duty of the householder to offer respects to the demigods and great sages as well as the forefathers. As it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has no specific duty to perform in this world, and yet he acts just like an ordinary man living an ideal life within this material world. In accordance with Vedic ritualistic principles, the Lord would offer respects to the demigods. The regulative principle by which the demigods and forefathers are worshipped is called Tarpana, which means pleasing. Once forefathers may have to take a body on another planet, but by performance of this Tarpana system, they become very happy wherever they may be. It is the duty of the householder to make his family members happy, and by following this Tarpana system, he can make his forefathers happy also. As the perfect exemplary householder, Lord Krishna followed this Tarpana system and offered respectful obeisances to the elderly, superior members of his family. The next duty was to give cows in charity to the Brahmanas. Every day, Lord Krishna used to give many groups of 13,084 cows. Each of the cows was decorated with silken cover and pearl necklace. Their horns were covered with gold plating, and their hooves were silver plated. All of them were full of milk due to having their firstborn cows with them, and they were very tame and peaceful. When the cows were given in charity to the Brahmanas also were given nice silken garments, and each was given deer skin and sufficient quantity of sesame seeds. The Lord is generally known as Go Brahmana Hitaya. Go Brahmana Hitayacha, which means that his first duty is to see the welfare of the cows and the Brahmanas. Thus, he used to give cows in charity to the Brahmanas with opulent decorations and paraphernalia. Then, wishing for the welfare of welfare of all living entities, he would touch auspicious articles such as milk, honey, ghee, clarified butter, gold jewels, fire. Although the Lord is by nature very beautiful due to the perfect figure of his transcendental body, he would dress himself in yellow garments and put on his necklace of Kaustuba jewels. He would wear flower garlands, smear his body with pulp of sandalwood, and decorate himself with similar cosmetics and ornaments. It is said that the ornaments in themselves became beautiful upon being placed on the transcendental body of the Lord. After decorating himself in this way, the Lord would then look at the marble statues of the cow and calf and visit temples of God and demigods like Lord Shiva. There were many Brahmanas who would come daily to see the Supreme Lord before taking their breakfast. They were anxious to see him and they welcomed him. His next duty was to please all kinds of men belonging to the different castes, both in the city and within the palace compound. He made them happy by fulfilling their different desires. And when the Lord saw them happy, he also became very much pleased. The flower garlands, betel nuts, sandalwood pulp, and other fragrant cosmetic articles offered to the Lord would be distributed by him, first to the Brahmanas, elderly members of the family, then to the queens, and then to the ministers. And if there were still some balance, he would engage it for his own personal use. By the time the Lord finished all these daily duties and activities, his charioteer, Daruka, would come with his wonderful chariot to stand before the Lord with folded hands, intimating that the chariot was ready. The Lord would come out of the palace to travel. Then the Lord, accompanied by Uddhava and Satyaki, would ride on the chariot just as the sun god rides on the chariot in the morning, appearing with the blazing rays on the surface of the world. And when the Lord was about to leave these palaces, all the queens would look at him with feminine gestures. The Lord would respond to their greetings and smiles, attracting their hearts so much they would feel intense separation from him. Then the Lord would go to okay. Thank you, Mother.
Thank you. So here we see that the Lord is also performing duties like a normal householder, right? Yesterday only we were seeing about yad acharati shrishis tattat evetrojana. Sayat pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. Why the Lord is performing all the duties of a householder? Because the Lord is setting an example for all the people, especially grihasthas, to follow the footsteps of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not imitate the Lord, but follow the instructions of the Lord, right? Where the Lord is giving instructions that one should worship, one should wake up early in the morning, one should perform one's regular daily duties and activities according to his swadharma, whether one is a brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha or a sannyasi, whether one is a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya or a shudra, according to karma, right? According to one's activities and desire, one should engage in swadharma and one should perform one's duty irrespective whether one likes it or not. But just as a matter of duty, one has to perform one's swadharma. So in this way, the Lord also distributed, cows to the Brahmanas, right? He also, Namo Brahmane Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya. The Lord is very, very affectionate towards the Brahmanas and towards the cows. So the more we also please the cows and the Brahmanas, we'll be able to easily please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. So even in Bhagavad Gita, we study there are three kinds of charity, right? Charity in the mode of goodness, charity in the mode of passion, and charity in the mode of ignorance, right? So charity in the mode of goodness is to give charity that would please the Brahmanas, that will help the cows. Why? Because that is pleasing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? It is even transcendental. It is Shuddha Sattva. It's even beyond the mode of goodness or the Sattva Guna, like that. Okay. Then what is the Lord doing? Lord would go to the assembly house. Okay, Deval Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dharma Pranam. Then the Lord would go to the assembly house known as Sudharma. It may be remembered that the Sudharma assembly house was taken away from the heavenly planets and established in the city of Dwarka. The specific significance of the assembly house was that anyone who entered it would be freed from the 6 kinds of material pangs, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death. These are the whips of material existence, and as long as one remained in that Sudharma assembly house, he would not be affected by these 6 material whips. The Lord would say goodbye in all the 16,000 palaces, and again he would become one and enter the Sudharma assembly house in procession with other members of the Yadu dynasty. After entering the assembly house, he used to sit on the exalted royal throne and would be seen to emanate glaring rays of transcendental effulgence. In the midst of all the great heroes of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna resembled the full moon in the sky, surrounded by multi-luminaries. In the assembly house were professional jokers, dancers, musicians, and ballet girls. And as soon as the Lord sat on his throne, they would begin their respective functions to please the Lord and put him in a happy mood. First of all the jokers would talk in such a way that the Lord and his associates would enjoy their humor, which would refresh the morning mood. The dramatic actors would then play their parts, and the dancing ballet girls would separately display their artistic movements. All these functions would be accompanied by the beating of mridanga drums and the sounds of the veena, flutes, and bells, followed by the sound of the muraja, another type of drum. To these musical vibrations, the auspicious sound of the conch shell would be added. The professional singers called Sutas and Magadhas would sing, and other would perform their dancing art. In this way, as devotees, they would offer respectful prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes the learned Brahmanas present in that assembly would chant Vedic hymns and explain them to the audience to the best of their knowledge, and sometimes some of them would recite old historical accounts of the activities of prominent kings. The Lord, accompanied by his associates, would be very pleased to hear them. Once upon a time, a person arrived at the gateway of the assembly house who was unknown to all the members of the assembly, and with the permission of Lord Krishna, he was admitted into the assembly by the doorkeeper. The doorkeeper was ordered to present him before the Lord, and the man appeared and offered his respectful obeisances unto the Lord with folded hands. It had happened that when King Jarasandha conquered all other kingdoms, many kings did not bow their heads before Jarasandha, and consequently all of them, numbering 20,000, were arrested and made his prisoners. The man brought before Lord Krishna by the doorkeeper was a messenger from all these imprisoned kings. Being duly presented before the Lord, the man began to relay a message from the kings as follows. Dear Lord, you are the eternal form of transcendental bliss and knowledge. As such, you are beyond the reach of the mental speculation or vocal description of any materialistic man within this world. A slight portion of your glories can be known by persons fully surrendered unto your lotus feet, and by your grace only, such persons become freed from all material anxieties. Dear Lord, we are not among these surrender souls. We are still within the duality and illusion of these material existence. We therefore take shelter of your lotus feet, for we are afraid of the cycle of birth and death. Dear Lord, we think that there are many living entities like us who are eternally entangled in fruitive activities and their reactions. They are never inclined to follow your instructions by performing devotional service, although it is pleasing to the heart and most auspicious for one's existence. On the contrary, they are against the path of Krishna conscious life, and they are wandering within the 3 worlds, impelled by the illusory energy of material existence. Dear Lord, who can estimate your mercy and your powerful activities? You are present always as the insurmountable force of eternal time, baffling the indefatigable desires of the materialist, who are thus repeatedly confused and frustrated. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you in your form of eternal time. Dear Lord, you are the proprietor of all the worlds, and you have incarnated yourself with your plenary expansions, Lord Balram. It is said that your appearance in this incarnation is for the purpose of protecting the faithful and destroying the miscreants. Under the circumstances, how is it possible that miscreants like Jarasandha can put us into such deplorable conditions of life against your authority? We are puzzled at the situation and cannot understand how is it possible. It may be that Jarasandha has been deputed to give us such trouble because of our past misdeeds, but we have heard from revealed scriptures that anyone who surrenders unto your lotus feet is immediately immune to the reactions of sinful life. We therefore offer ourselves wholeheartedly unto your shelter, and we hope that your Lordship will now give us full protection. We have come to the real conclusion of our lives. Our kingly positions were nothing but the reward of our past pious activities, just as our suffering imprisonment by Jarasandha is the result of our past impious activities. We realize now that the reactions of both pious and impious activities are temporary, and that we can never be happy in this conditioned life. The material body is awarded to us by the modes of material nature, and on account of this, we are full of anxieties. The material condition of life simply involves bearing the burden of this dead body. As a result of fruitive activities, we have thus been subjected to being beasts of burden for these bodies, and being forced by conditioned life, we have given up the pleasing life of Krishna consciousness. Now we realize that we are the most foolish persons. We have been entangled in the network of material reactions due to our ignorance. We have therefore come to the shelter of your lotus feet, which can immediately eradicate all the results of fruitive actions and thus free us from the contamination of material pains and pleasures. Dear Lord,
Hare Krishna.
because
Thank you, Mataji.
yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji, thank you, Danut Pranam.
Thank you. Bhajahure mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charana Ravindare. The other day we were discussing how life is full of uncertainties, life is full of fears, right? Because we don't know what is going to happen next, right? Because of all these uncertainties, we are very fearful at all times. So, what will happen next? What news will come now, right? Because it exhibits that we don't surrender to the Supreme Lord, right? We say this, right? Whatever is, I was hearing Gaur Gopal Prabhu, he was saying, if you can do something about it, do it. Why worry? If you can't do something about it, then leave it to Lord. You can't, don't worry. What you cannot do anything about it. So why worry? So like that, we should understand that I am the servant of the Lord. The Lord is my best friend. Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suradam Sarvabhutanam Nyatva Mam Shanti Mrichati. This is a peace formula Prabhupada says in the purport. Why? Because when I realize that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is in control of everything, who has everything under his control, is my best friend. He's my best well-wisher. He does everything for what is best for me. When we understand that the Lord does everything for my ultimate good, then we don't crib over why small things that happen in our lives that don't go according to our plan, because we know that things are happening according to a superior plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we have this understanding, then peace will be there. There will be no anxiety. There will be happiness, right? So this is the formula that we need to understand, that everything is happening with the will of the Lord, and the Lord is my best friend, like that. Okay, anyone else wants to read who is not yet read so far? Dear Lord, okay, Rajeshwari Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Dear Lord, because we are now surrendered souls to your lotus feet, you can give us a relief from the enterprise of fruitive actions made possible by Jarasandha. Dear Lord, it is known to you that Jarasandha possessed the power of 10,000 elephants, and with his power, he has imprisoned us just as a lion harnessed as a flock of sheep. Dear Lord, you have already fight with Jarasandha 18 times consecutively, out of which you have defeated him 17 times by surprising his extraordinarily powerful position. But in your 18th fight, you exhibited your human behavior, and thus it is appeared that you have defeated. Dear Lord, we know very well that Jarasandha cannot defeat you at any time, for your power, strength, resources, and authority are all unlimited. Now, no one can equal you or surpass you. Your appreciate defeat by Jarasandha in the 18th engagement was nothing but the exhibition of the human behavior. Unfortunately, foolish Jarasandha would not understand your tricks, and he has since then become puffed up over his material power and prestige. Specifically, he has arrested and imprisoned us, knowing fully that as your devotees are very subservient to your survivory. The message concludes. Now I have explained the full position of kings, and your lordship can consider and do whatever you like. As the messenger and representative of all these imprisoned kings, I have submitted my words before you, Lordship. and presenting their prayers to you. All the kings are very anxious to see you, and so that they can all personally surrender to your lotus feet. My dear Lord, be merciful upon them and act for their good fortune. At the at the very moment the messenger of the impression kings were presenting their appeal before the Lord, the great sage Narada arrived. Because he was a great saint, his hair was dazzling like a gold, and when he entered the assembly house, it appeared that the sun god has personally presented in the midst of the assembly. The Lord Krishna is worshipped, the master of even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Yet, as soon as he saw that the sage Narada had arrived, he immediately stood up with his ministries and secretaries to receive the great sage and offered his respectful obeisance by bowing his head. The great sage Narada took the comfortable seat, and Lord Krishna worshipped him with all paraphernalia as required for the regular reception of the sanitary person. While trying to satisfy Naradaji, Lord Krishna spoke the following words in his sweet and natural voice. My dear great sake, among the demigods, I think that now everything is well within the three words. You are perfectly eligible to travel everywhere in the space, in the upper, middle, and the lower planetary systems of this universe. Fortunately, when we meet you, we can very easily take information from your holiness of all the news of the three worlds. For within this cosmic manifestation of the Supreme Lord, there is nothing concealing from your knowledge. You know everything, as so I wish I question you. Has the Pandavas doing well, and what is the present plan of King Yudhishthira? Will you kindly let me know what they want to do at the present?
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Mataji.
Dharat Pranam. Yeah. So we see here, like Krishna is, he knows everything. He knows what is there in everyone's heart. He very clearly knows what the Pandavas are doing in Hastinapura, what is happening, what is the plan that is brewing in the mind of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. Everything the Lord knows. But yet the Lord is behaving like an ordinary householder. So again, when Narada Muni is coming to the palace, what is he doing? He is offering obeisances to Narada Muni, and he is inquiring from Narada Muni, right? So this is what every householder should do. When a Brahmana or a Vaishnava comes to our home, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to receive the Brahmana and or the Vaishnava, offer them water, and take some knowledge from them, right? What am I, ask some spiritual questions, right? So, after the initial pleasantries, we need to ask relevant questions, right? In the initial stages, there are many questions that are asked, right? What is my duty as as a human being? Why have I got this human form of life? Why am I suffering in this material world? What is the ultimate destination for a human being? And all of these things, right? So similarly, we see here Krishna is also asking about the well-being of Yudhishthira Maharaj. And we all know Narada Muni is a transcendental spaceman. He can go from one loka to another loka, to Vishnu loka, to Vaikuntha loka, to Goloka Vrindavan, to the earthly planet, to the heavenly planets, everywhere. So now Krishna is asking Narada Muni, well, how is it with Yudhishthira Maharaj? And let's see what Narada Muni is answering to Lord Sri Krishna, who is asking him this question. Okay, anyone else wants to read who is not yet read so far? You can raise your hand. The great sage Narada spoke as follows. My dear Lord, you have spoken about the cosmic manifestation created by the Supreme Lord, but I know that you are the all-pervading creator. Your energies are so extensive and inconceivable that even powerful personalities like Brahma, the Lord of this particular universe, cannot measure your inconceivable power. My dear Lord, you are present as a super soul in everyone's heart by your inconceivable potency, exactly like the fire which is present in everyone, but which no one can see directly. In conditioned life, all living entities are within the jurisdiction of the three modes of material nature. As such, they are unable to see your presence everywhere with their material eyes. By your grace, however, I have seen many times the action of your inconceivable potency, and therefore, when you ask me for the news of the Pandavas, which is not at all unknown to you, I am not surprised at your inquiry. My dear Lord, by your inconceivable potencies, you create this cosmic manifestation, maintain it, and again dissolve it. Only by dint of your inconceivable potency does this material world, although a shadow representation of the spiritual world, appear to be factual. No one can understand what you plan to do in the future. Your transcendental position is always inconceivable to everyone. As far as I am concerned, I can simply offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again. In the bodily concept of existence, everyone is driven by material desires, and thus everyone develops new material bodies, one after another in the cycle of birth and death. Being absorbed in such a concept of existence, one does not know how to get out of this engagement of the material body. By your causeless mercy, O Lord, you descend to exhibit your various transcendental pastimes, which are illuminating and full of glory. Therefore, I have no alternative but to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. My dear Lord, you are the supreme Parabrahman, and your pastimes as an ordinary human being are another tactical resource, exactly like a play on the stage, in which the actor plays different parts from his own identity. Because the Pandavas are your cousins, you have inquired about them in the role of their well-wisher, and therefore I shall let you know about their intentions. Now please hear me. So Narada Muni is now going to describe what is happening in Hastinapura. First, and all the Narada Muni also understands that Krishna already knows what is happening. But yet, since he asked Narada Muni is performing the seva of replying back to the Supreme Lord. First, I may inform you that King Yudhishthira has all material opulences which are possible to achieve in the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka. He has no material opulence for which to aspire, and yet he wants to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice only to get your association and please you. King Yudhishthira Maharaj is so opulent that he has attained all the opulences of Brahmaloka, even on this earthly planet. He is fully satisfied and he does not need anything more. He is full in everything, but now he wants to worship you to achieve your causeless mercy. And I beg to request you to fulfill his desire. My dear Lord, in these great sacrificial performances by King Yudhishthira, there will be an assembly of all the demigods and all the famous kings of the world. My dear Lord, you are the supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, one who engages himself in your devotional service by the prescribed methods of hearing, chanting, and remembering, certainly becomes purified from the contamination of the three modes of material nature. And what to speak of those who have the opportunity to see you and touch you directly. My dear Lord, you are the symbol of everything auspicious. Your transcendental name and fame have spread all over the universe, including the higher, middle, and the lower planetary systems. The transcendental water which washes your lotus feet is known in the higher planetary system as Mandakini, in the lower planetary system as Bhogavati, and in this earthly planetary system as the Ganges. This sacred transcendental water flows throughout the entire universe, purifying wherever it flows. Just before the great sage Narada arrived in the Sudharma assembly house of Dwaraka, Lord Krishna and his ministries and secretaries had been considering how to attack the kingdom of Jarasandha. Because they were seriously considering this subject, Narada's proposal that Lord Krishna go to Hastinapura for Maharaja Yudhishthira's great Rajasuya sacrifice did not much appeal to them. Lord Krishna could understand the intentions of his associates because he is the ruler of even Lord Brahma. Therefore, in order to pacify them, he smilingly said to Uddhava, my dear Uddhava, you are always my well-wishing, confidential friend. I therefore wish to see everything through you because I believe that your counsel is always right. I believe that you understand the whole situation perfectly. Therefore, I'm asking your opinion. What should I do? I have faith in you and therefore I shall do whatever you advise. It is known to Uddhava that although Lord Krishna was acting as an ordinary man, Lord Krishna knew everything, past, present, and future. However, because the Lord wanted to consult with him, Uddhava, in order to render service to the Lord, began to speak. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 70th chapter of Krishna, entitled Lord Krishna's Daily Activities. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matha smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaicha sarvairahameva vedyo vedan Vedavid eva chaham. Right. So Prabhupada actually explains in this verse, right? Krishna is there in everybody's heart, and from him only comes remembrance, forgetfulness, knowledge, right? And all of our understanding comes from Lord Sri Krishna, right? But when we are worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, we should also understand that Lord Krishna is now playing the part of a householder. Hence, he is asking Narada Muni, how also Yudhishthira Maharaj, what are the things happening there? And then he's also asking Uddhava, right, you are my friend, I'm asking your opinion, what I should be doing. Should I go to the Yudhishthira's Rajasuya sacrifice? Like that, Krishna is asking Uddhava, right? So in this way, let us see the next chapter, which is 71st chapter. We completed the Bhaktivedanta Purport of the 70th chapter of Krishna, which is Lord Krishna's daily activities, and chapter 71 is about Lord Krishna in Indraprastha city. Yes, so Krishna is going to Indraprastha, right? Indraprastha is a beautiful form, right, of the Kandava Prastha that actually Duryodhana gave Yudhishthira Maharaj, right? The entire Indraprastha was created in a very, very beautiful way by Vishwakarma, the architect of the demigods. So in this way, wherever Lord Sri Krishna is there, there will always be victory, there will always be opulence, and there will always be great success, right? Because that is the words, that is the last words of Sanjaya after hearing the entire Bhagavad Gita. He says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Shrir Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. Right? So he's saying that wherever Lord Shri Krishna is there and wherever the Lord's associates like Arjuna are there, there will always be success, prosperity, and no delusion, no doubts that is caused due to sense gratification, because one is oriented completely towards serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his devotees. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णवा वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. Hare Krishna. Devotees will quickly do Harinam Sankirtan. I request devotees to switch on your cameras, and then we will do Harinam Sankirtan for pleasure of their lordship for 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll end. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Jaya Pataka Swamini Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Atsatyadeeshatharine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jai Jai Jagannath Jai Jai Baladev Jai Jai Subhadra Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Sat Goswami Jaya Guru Parampara Prabhupada Jaya Guru Devani Jai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल. Hare Krishna. So thank you, devotees. I'm able to see Shubhangi Mataji, Harjeet Mataji, Sridhar Prabhu, Karpaguli Mataji, Rajeshwari Mataji, and Priya Mataji. Thank you for switching on your cameras and giving your wonderful darshan. So, and tomorrow is the most auspicious occasion of Shattila Ekadashi. So, we can all join for the 5 a.m. Brahma Muhurta chanting session on the auspicious occasion of Ekadashi. Also today, we request all the devotees join the Ekadashi Sankalpa group. We'll be taking Sankalpa to chant maximum rounds of the pleasure of Guru and Gauranga on the auspicious occasion of Ekadashi, and there is a form that is also to be submitted for this chanting rounds tomorrow on the auspicious occasion of Shatila Ekadashi. We will call out your names and chant Narasimha Kavacham for your protection. So please do join the WhatsApp group if you've not already joined it. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Nandakoti Vaishnava Vrind ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much, dear devotees. We'll meet you all tomorrow morning on the auspicious Ekadashi Vrata for the Brahma Murta chanting. Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.